Session 3 here on Counsel Culture with Dr. J.P. Foster. And man, we've been talking about everything from life to religion. And now let's talk about relationships, fatherhood, surrendering. Once again, an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be in a safe space and a brave place to have discussions that are sometimes not just black or white, not just right or wrong, but there's nuance. There's real space for cultivation and dialogue, and guided by counselors that we revere, that we respect within the community. And once again, I'm joined by somebody that I have great reverence for on many different levels, but just really being a powerful man of God, a powerful example as a father, as a husband, as a leader to his community, the senior pastor at Faithful Central Bible Church, the one and only Dr. John Paul C. Foster. What's the C for?
They're going to tell you at my funeral.
Keep the C quiet. I love it. Yeah. Pastor Foster, man, good to see you, man. Wow. We've talked so much. We've gotten to know who you are in these sessions, and your origin story, your mission, you're on fire for Christ, and then we got to intellectually know you as well as you know, you are truly a teacher. You are someone, a scholar of the word. But in our last session, you said something that was truly powerful, that, you know, you can't, you know, I take intellectualism to lead someone with their walk. It has to be powered by faith. Which then got us to the space of where it brings us to our final session of surrendering your all to the walk, which I've struggled with all my life. I've shared a little bit, you know, just based off of my own upbringing, my own understanding. And you ended the session, if I believe the question was, when it comes to surrendering, why do I struggle with that? And that's where I want to start this one off, because I feel like it's going to help so many. When it comes to being a husband, I've been that before, and I feel like I failed at that. Great relationship, but it wasn't successful in its duration because there was divorce. You know, go along to continue to be, you know, amazing co-parents, and, you know, have amazing teenagers that love God, have respect, you know, for their parents. And I pray and have faith that they'll go on to, you know, have families of their own and be amazing in this world. After that, you know, I fathered many more children, you know, at this point as we sit right here, and I'm done. But I, you know, I say at 30 years old I had no kids. At 40 years old I had 12. And in that, I've struggled with not just outside perception, but even within my own spirit of like, how did I get here? Why? What is, you know, and even attempting to take as much accountability of these are the decisions I made that, you know, therefore, you know, produced a lifestyle that is unorthodox and to many, and even, you know, a space of condemning from some, whether it's the judgment or however it is that I've often been portrayed as like a bad person or a person who made bad decisions, which then puts me in a space of, okay, how much of my walk should be performative? And when I say that, it's almost, am I living my life for others, or am I living my life for myself? And if I really get to the root of like, okay, I'm living my life for myself, why do I need to follow a strict set of rules or a path that someone else says I should be living, opposed to just being the best individual that I can possibly be? I believe there's the philosopher Marcus Aurelius that speaks, you know, the Stoic mentality is like where they say, you know, spend no time arguing what a good man is, just be one. And I attempt to do that with the mindset of I just want to be the best I can be. I want to be as Christ-like as possible, but shut out all of the noise of others telling me what I should be doing with my life. I know there's a calling on my life. I know I have a mission. I know I have a purpose. And for whatever reason, this is the path. And so in that, I have not surrendered to and I'll say that, I'll add this as an addendum. I've attempted to surrender multiple times. I could be an Olympic swimmer in the baptism pool. Many times I've been baptized, bro. You know what I mean? When you think about from the ritual of it as a kid, you know what I mean? Every time we join a different church, we get baptized again. And, you know, from their perspective to coming into my own as a man. And, you know, I credit Crenshaw Christian Center for, you know, and the late great Apostle Dr. Fred Casey. I don't know what his C stand for either. Fred Price, in that sense of teaching me so much. I mean, one of the first books that I ever dove into and loved and changed my life was Name It, Claim It, you know. Just in understanding the power of Mark 11:23-24, you know, whatever you desire, believe that you receive it when you pray, you shall have it. Like literally, that has built everything in me and everything that I have as, you know, a provider. But I've fallen short of the glory so many times. I was like, man, I can't do that. Like, I can't, come on, man, I've tried. You know what I mean? There's so many temptations. There's so much more flesh that I have to deal with that I had, like I said, I always feel like healing isn't linear, but this path is a difficult one for me. Yeah. And even I feel like a man in my mid 40s now, like the temptation is no longer even a problem for me. You know what I mean? I've been to the mountaintop of lust and I've seen it. I'm good. I don't want it. By the grace of God, I'm still here. But the aspect of wanting to do something that others feel that I should be doing and not hearing from God directly is where I think I currently struggle with the surrendering process.
So what does surrender look like to you? So I'm gonna ask two questions. First one is, there's pressure from other people, which I agree. At some point you got to shut that out. Yeah. Because this is your life. Yeah. This is your journey, and at the end of the day, God's not going to ask me about anybody else. He's going to ask me about me. Right. And so I would ask you this question: What is included in that pressure? What do people say surrender is on the outside? And then I want to know what you think. What is surrender to you? Right. Like what is included in that? Like what does it look like?
I want to really give a thoughtful answer. Twofold. The first part is, all my life, I think it is because it is, and I think you even asked this a little bit in the last session. All my life, there's expectation of, even at a time, like, you gotta be more like your father. You know what I mean? Like in that sense of, you know, you gonna preach. You gonna like, and even I would joke. You know, it was like, man, I do too much sinning to be a pastor. Like I love the entertainment part of it. I used to love, you know. I would literally be opening up for the preacher, where my dad would allow me to, you know, do Jesus jokes and all that stuff before he would start, you know, his sermon. And so, but I knew even at that time, I was like, ooh, as much reverence and respect that I have for that, I know that's not me. Yes. But even in that sense of, even when I talked to my oldest daughter, who is super gifted and talented, I was like, man, that has to be such a difficult space to be in for a young person, to where your mother is the greatest singer of all time. So even if you hitting notes, still ain't your mama. You know what I mean? So even in that same sense, I've always ran the other way because I never wanted to be in my father's shadow of the perspective of what our family, you know, the pressure that presented itself to, and almost wanting to prove him wrong and like, watch the success I can go make of myself without you in this process that you believe successful life is all about. So I struggle with that all my life. And then to say surrendering of what I believe it is, or what others would say it is like, oh, you got to stop being so worldly. You got, you know what I mean, and know that from what I've heard over the years. You know, you part of secular music, you cursing, you tell comedy that's humor and which is not godly, and all of those things. That's the other thing. I remember I was probably one of the first comedians in like the late '90s, early 2000s that we used to do, even with Kenyon and all of them. We used to do the you know, Christian comedy nights at Faithful Central. So like I've always been in those spaces of like, yeah, I want to make that effort. But then it got to a space of once I started coming into my own understanding and really seeking and really almost creating discourse within the community of like, no, I know the Bible. Like I would wear it as a badge of honor. It's like I'm in seminary, I'm in theology, and I'm seeking true truth more than just listening to someone tell me what's in the Bible. I went and studied it for myself and continue to. So knowing as I sit across from an individual who has surrendered, you know, like if that would be my answer, is like when I see individuals like yourself, you're like, oh yeah, their walk is completely different from mine. And there's your fruit produces that. I mean, your walk shows that it's a different walk, even all the way to that space of like, you know, how God has, you know, his hand on you in the space of marriage and fatherhood. It's like, it's something to be commended, but I know it's like, ooh, I tried that and I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? And even in the mindset of where I currently sit, is like, I'm comfortable in the walk that I currently have, but I know it could be greater if I fully surrendered.
I agree that the pressure that the outside has put on you is not fair, and you're also a PK. So people who weren't PKs or don't, like my kids are PKs. There's a lot of noise. The pressure that's put on you is unfair. You can't really be a kid. You can't almost anything you do is criticized. And I think going back to judgmental and these holiness movements, and I'm not God says be holy for I'm holy, so I'm not denying those things. But there also needs to be an entry point where someone can be transformed to get to that place where they can overcome temptation and all those other things. So you mentioned that the outside noise, and I don't think that if you know this, your surrender does not have to mean you do what your dad did, right? Because now you're making it vocational or vocational. There are many people in entertainment we can name who are extremely successful that have surrendered, but they're not preaching. Because I would say this, Jesus says, let your light shine before men, that when people see your light, your good works, they'll glorify the Father in heaven. There is an aspect of our light that should shine. You mentioned our light shining in our first session. So there is an aspect of our light. Your heart is like you said, I'm a good person. Your heart is, you want to do right. You have accepted accountability for your relationships. You want to be the best father you possibly can be. You've made a conscious decision. Like even some stuff that I know, like you make sure I'm gonna do everything I can to be the best dad I can. And you've made, I'm gonna use the word peace, and you've taken accountability for the past. But this surrender and the things that you've experienced, failure is not final. Just because one thing didn't work, it doesn't mean that something forward can't work. You know, the Bible says like, hey, Paul says, of the sinners, I'm the worst. This guy, 3/4 of the New Testament is him. And he says, of the sinners, I'm the worst. Then Paul goes to say, Lord, he prayed 3 times, Lord, please take this thorn from me. I got this thorn in my side, Lord, please take it away. God said to him, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. So Paul doesn't advocate for, just surrender, just it is what it is. He says no, and when I surrender my life to Christ, there is the truth that I may still wrestle with something. And I would argue that anybody who says they surrender their life to God and says they don't wrestle with anything, I guess you're Jesus.
Thanks.
We all wrestle with something. It's what you do with what you're wrestling with. Like the Bible says, be angry. You can be angry, but don't sin. Being angry, and ain't nothing wrong with being angry. It's what you do with the anger. Everyone's going to be tempted in some type of way. The Bible says the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. We know that. He roams back and forth like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. He's not even happy that your heart is inclined towards God and you want to live toward, and you want to know his word, his will, and his ways. He's doing his job. His job is to wreak havoc. His job is to try to destroy us. His job is to make sure that you're in positions where you're tempted to take you down. So you've made peace with, and you've done your best to take accountability, which is powerful, right? I've made these decisions. I'm making accountable. I'm gonna accept accountability, and I'm gonna do my best. But what about forward? Because I think maybe you're thinking surrender is a picture of somebody else's life. Like, I appreciate you telling me, man, you fully surrendered. But if I was playing basketball or doing neurosurgery, I could still be the same surrendered. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
my assignment may be different, but my purpose never changes. My calling might be different, but my purpose never changes. What's my purpose? My purpose is to give God glory with everything that I do. My assignment may be different. So you can be in entertainment and be a light. So you can surrender fully to God in every area, and it doesn't necessarily mean, now you're a PK, and I think some of that baggage, for instance, we're formed when some of what we deal with as kids shapes us. What we deal with from 0 to adolescence shapes us. And then we spend a lot of time with ourselves, therapists, and all, unpacking some of that stuff. Right. And I don't know, I feel that you may be putting unnecessary pressure on yourself to be something that God didn't require you to be. If he didn't tell you to preach, don't preach. If he didn't tell you to be a pastor, don't be a pastor. You still have a testimony. We talked about that last session. But you can still have a testimony. You can still proclaim the gospel of Jesus. You can still proclaim the good news and do what you're doing right now. You could fully surrender your life to Christ. You said, I'm done with, I've been at the highest, I've been on the mountaintop of temptation. I'm done with it. Which means you're in a place in your life where you're okay with saying, you know what? This is where my life is up until this point. I'm good. Right. When would a greater time in your life to be and say, Lord, here I am? Right. Than right now. You know what I'm saying? It's being a father. You know what I mean? Sometimes as being a father, we get this idea of we sometimes deal with some of the stuff we dealt with as a kid. I have aspects of being a father. I say, all right, in this part of fatherhood, I ain't never gonna do that. Right. I can't ever let my kids go through this aspect of it. And then some of them like, oh, I have to do that. Like, I got to do that. And I think it's learning that and then surrendering. What are pictures that God gives us as a father? Right? He's loving, he's compassionate, he's a provider. God is all these things for us. Right. He's a comforter. Like the list can go on in who God is as a father and how he displays that to us into the world. He's sacrificial, right? There's so many things that can be said about God in the Bible that you and I can embody and live out. And that's surrendering. Indeed. When it comes to temptation, you got temptation on another level. You don't have the same level of temptation someone walking down the street has. Right. Yours is higher. Right. People know who you are. Right. You're targeted by individuals. So you got to access to access. Come on. Exactly. So now you have to move differently based on what's coming at you. Now you got to ask your question, well, why does this person want to meet with me? Right. Why am I getting this DM? There's a whole list of temptation that's on another level. Indeed. But how do you handle that temptation? And what does it mean to surrender those areas of your life? What does surrender in a relationship look like to you? What does surrender in fatherhood look like to you? Because what you're saying is surrendering as far as a relationship with God, with what you described, I don't see why you can't do that. That's right. Because the picture that you're painting of surrender, you don't need that.
Right. Yeah, but I think once you get into the details of it, like, because even when you say that, what it strikes me, what I often hear, and whether it's even individuals specifically in my life, you know, specifically one of the mothers of my children has surrendered. You know, I think they all have relationships with God, you know, proclaim to be Christians, but one which you personally know is dedicated. And we often have dialogue that can even lead to discourse of, she's in it with me, but she's also witnessing, saying like, you need to remove fornication from your life. You need to remove being in environments where that temptation can really still attack your flesh.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with her. You know what I mean? I was like, you are 100% correct. But I have created a lifestyle and a world that I have to cater to, you know, multiple people in the sense of even just, I co-parent with others, which from the church's standpoint is probably not ideal. You know what I mean? And even looked at and shunned upon in the sense of where it's like, all right, well, we seen him in church with this family, and a couple months later, he over here with, like, I get that perspective, and I get how easier it would be from the outside looking in. They would say, oh man, if you just go ahead and get married and do this, and like that looks like surrender to some, but to me, it's like, it's more nuanced. It's more complex than that, for even attempting to be the best father I can be to all of my children. Being in a, you know, conventional marriage or relationship in that sense would actually, for me, create and unearth even deeper, you know, guilt and not being, you know, even right now, I was like, my number one priority is to be the best father I can be to all my children, not the best partner to others. Like now, 18, 20 years from now, when all my kids are grown, then maybe now I can focus on finding a partner that can do, but like right now, it's like, for the structure that I've personally created, the best thing for me to do is to remain free, loose, you know, and be the best dad I can be, and not let nothing else come in between, you know, me attempting to build a relationship. So, and then at night after, I was like, is that an excuse? You know, like, or is that the right thing to do? And those are the things where I was like, that's where it's like that surrender. It's almost like I wouldn't know how to, other than some of the examples that I see. And to me, that doesn't feel right at the moment.
Yeah, so it sounds like if you do, I'm gonna put it like surrender, it's gonna cost you something. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me like the most important thing for you is you don't want to do anything that's gonna interrupt your relationship with your kids being a good father.
Right.
But you mentioned, is this an excuse? I'll ask you this question. If you were to, there are many people in the world who co-parent, who aren't partners.
Right.
And they do a phenomenal job working that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But in each situation, it's costly.
Yeah.
Right? It costs something. Absolutely. And unfortunately, sometimes people will use kids as a weapon.
Yeah.
Oh, if we're not together, then you ain't going. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what I'm asking. Well, it may surrender something in that sense may cost something.
Indeed.
And if you're fornication, you say, I'm good on that. Yeah. I'm good on all these other things. Yeah. Well, your relationship with God, you surrender to Him. Jesus says, if you want to be, I'm gonna use this word, if you want to be my disciple, you must deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me daily. Mm-hmm. You can co-parent, you can father amazingly to do it. And I would just, which it seems like you're wrestling with, is how can I be the best father I can with the situations and these relationships that I have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's at the forefront currently. That's really what it is for me, because I'm like, all right, I've literally created multiple households, and I'm just trying to find the balance to do what's right, and not even thinking like solely. I'm laser focused on what does my lineage need? What are the children, as they even witness my lifestyle as they grow up? It's like, one, I got to be the best example for them, but then even I'm thinking about, you know, even if it was in a typical scenario where it's like, you know, there's many scenarios where it's like, oh, I got divorced here and I got kids here and now I'm trying to build here. But it's like, I have that, you know, sixfold, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not a typical scenario. So I'm like, all right, where everyone else would probably say, oh, well, if you just do this, life is surrender this way. And I was like, I'm being pulled in so many ways that being still is really the best thing for me at the
and you can be surrendered to God, involved in your kid's life, and have a healthy relationship with the baby's mothers at the same time. Because you can do all those things.
Yeah.
What is it going to mean, and what does that look like for you? Yeah. And what impact is that going to have on you? I think is the deeper question.
Right.
Right? Because
indeed. Yeah, indeed. I mean, and that's obviously, you know, zooming out a little bit, you know, I'm not the only one in the world, you know what I mean? And I would love to get some advice, not only for myself, but for other men out there that are struggling with similar scenarios, in that sense of like, they want to be good fathers. I think now, you know, that myth that, you know, black men don't take care of their kids, like, we've dispelled that.
That's not
you know what I mean? Even if that was a generation before us, to where, you know, our fathers were learning. I think now when even when you look at the statistics, black men are present for their 100%. Children. Even if they're not necessarily in the household, they are there and connected to their children. But it's not an easy walk. Because a lot of times we're learning for the first time. A lot of us didn't grow up with fathers in the household, so we're learning how to do this co-parenting thing. We're learning how to do this marriage thing, like because we didn't have the example, but now we want to be the best example. So what would be your advice for people who want to surrender, even in that setting, but don't know how?
Surrender, what do you mean when you say this?
Well, I mean in that sense of doing the right thing with their life. You know, that would be my sense of like being good fathers, being good companions, being just centered and balanced individuals. Yeah. Even though the stereotypes in the world out there don't believe we are, you know what I mean? Even the pressures of being a young black man, even when we spoke about in our earlier sessions, it's like, we don't get the credit of the pressures that it is even just to walk out that house and battle a lot of those stereotypes and the struggles of everything from temptations to judgments of like, look, I just want to be the best. You know what I mean? Like, even one of the reasons why I created Counsel Culture was like, man, I want to create a space where it's like, man, you can ask any question you need to ask and not be judged. You can come in any way and just, man, it's hard right now. It's heavy right now. I need to emote. I need to cry. I need to scream. Yeah. Because we've never had that opportunity to do those things. Yeah. It's almost about being stoic. It's almost about holding it in. It's almost about being tough, or, you know, sleep in the bed you made. You know what I mean? And there's times where it's like, look, I don't have the answers. I don't know what to do next. I don't know. Yeah. So it's like, I think we need to hear, you know, at least some type of counsel of how to do this and continue to be motivated and inspired to be on the right path.
Yeah, I think the first thing you mentioned in the top is you said, I'm accountable. I think, you know, I've made bad choices in my life, right? Everyone goes down certain roads, whatever, but I think the main thing that people wrestle with is actually acknowledging it, being accountable to it, and then having self-awareness. And I think for people who wrestle with, you know, this is the situation that I have, whatever the situation is, we should never let anything get in between us being a good father. You fight for that. You do whatever you have to do to be in your kid's life. Whether it means you gotta figure it out. You know what I mean? And you can get professionals to help you do whatever you gotta do, go through course, whatever you gotta do. But I think we fail our children when we don't fight to be present. And sometimes, and not all women, and I'm not blaming women. I'm just saying sometimes the situations are that you can't see I'm not letting you see your child. And I think that we have to fight to be in our kids' life, no matter what, and show up, and don't let whatever tension is happening between you and the baby's mother ever make your child feel that you don't love them, you don't care for them, and you don't want to be present. There may be certain situations where you can't be there, and you wanted to be there, and you have to know, you have to be able to rest at night saying, I did everything I possibly could to be in my child's life, I couldn't be at this one. Why? Well, the dynamics with the mom, I just wasn't able to be there. And you can't kick yourself because you're trying to do everything you can to be in your kid's life. So I think when you have those situations, you fight. You got to fight. You have to fight to be in the life of your child, no matter what. And again, this could cost you something. This, you know, I'm not trying to make it seem like it's peaches and cream. This may cost. It's challenging and it may cost you something, but it's the sacrifice worth it. That's your child. You have to. When we keep talking about conventional relationships, for me, personally, I tried my best. I'm gonna use this air quote surrender. If this is what God's word says, then let me try to do my best to live what God says. There are 3 major words God uses in a relationship. This is why I say to people who are like, man, this didn't work. Some people, their next moving forward may be, I'm gonna just be single for the rest of my life. And that's okay, right? You like Paul was single. There's other people in the Bible who were single.
Jesus was
right?
single.
Exactly. Thank you. So that's fine, right? That is absolutely fine. You mentioned I can overcome a temptation and all that. So if you don't, the Bible says if you're burning, well, if you ain't burning, then cool, right? You're good. But you can be single and be a great father and keep on moving. Three major words Scripture uses that really, to me, helps me understand the power of a relationship and marriage the way God says it. So one word God uses is helper. Right, you're in Genesis. It says, "It's not good for man to be alone. I'll make a helper that's suitable." That particular word is a word that is used by God for. It's not one that means inferior. It's not one that means underneath. It's one that means equal,
equally yoked.
Right. So it's one that means to be equal, to be a support, to be power. So it's not a helper. Is not someone. Oh, she's a doormat. It's someone that is equal to bring force, right? So that's one thing. Even with unequally yoked, I think sometimes that verse can be misused or overused because that particular passage is not even talking about marriage. It says don't be unequally yoked with an unbeliever. So that works in business terms, relational terms, and it works in marriage terms. And really what it means is 2 animals are yoked together and they work a plow. So you got this imagery of 2 animals moving in the same direction. So it's equal mind, equal value. So if I'm yoked up with another animal and it's trying to go this way and we're supposed to be plowing this way, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to drop. Literally, the animals fall. They drop to the ground, which means you're stagnant. You're not going anywhere. So to be equally yoked, you got to have same values. That's why I'm a big advocate. I won't do a wedding unless a person goes through counseling before. You know the greatest thing I've ever seen?
What's that?
Is when they go to counseling before they get married and they don't get married.
It wasn't ready.
Exactly. It wasn't right. People are celebrating when people jump the broom. Praise God for that. But if you go to counseling before you get married and you unpack a lot of things that you didn't even know, and it forces you to ask questions about yourself and your spouse, the greatest thing you could have is say, oh, this ain't it. I'm serious. It's liberating. Another word that's used is submission. I think it's overused and misused as well. To submit. You got to like I'm in Ephesians 5 now. Wives, submit to your husbands, right? And then the preacher closes the Bible, right? That's verse 22. Verse 21 says submit to one another. And this word for submit in the original language is talking about, it's actually a military term that means to come alongside, like it's gathering troops to be under the command of the commander to move. So it's really about submitting to one another.
Right.
Not being a doormat or as if the woman is less. It's and I only submit to someone that I respect. So there has to be mutual respect and accountability for someone to submit. That's why I think that, in relationships, they can work. It's just with the place or space that you're in the season of your life, where do you want to go? Is it better for me to just be single and figure it out when all my kids are 18? Or do I go through the process of finding out what it means? And I think when it comes to a relationship working, it's the starting point. The starting point makes a significant difference in how that relationship works later on.
Indeed.
And it doesn't always mean that you're not going to have turbulence, trouble, or all those other things, but it does mean that my goal in anything I'm doing is, when it comes to fatherhood or marriage, is I'm surrendering my life to do what God said. It may not be conventional, it may not be what the culture wants or is doing, but if I'm going to surrender my life to Christ, and the authority of what God says in his word, then I just have to move that way. And that's a part of, if anyone wants to be my disciple, you got to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. And that's hard. I'm not saying it like it's easy, but I mean, the fruits of a life after that, to me, is incredible. And it doesn't mean you can't still be successful doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Man, that's a word and a half right there. I definitely needed to hear that. And I know many others, watching and listening, that's powerful fruit. That's powerful manna right there that we all can chew on and hopefully digest. These sessions have gone by so quickly,
fast, man.
Yeah, but I know people are going to continue to watch these back end, but we definitely got to do this again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your spirit, and just all of the wisdom that you've been sharing, all of the counsel that you give me, and therefore, our audience here at Counsel Culture, man. So it's an honor.
Man, much love.
Nothing but love. Y'all know what to do. Like, subscribe. It's Counsel Culture. Pastor Foster. And you know what? If I always have to say this, if people want to get more from you or find you, or what's the best way for them to find you?
Social media, is that easy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I am JP Foster.
Yeah.
That's it.
There it is.
I am JP Foster.
Powerful. He won't tell you what the C means, though. There it is, Counsel Culture.